Alright, hello everyone, it's Teamrocketdraws here with another Pokemon drawing tutorial. And for this video guys, I'm gonna do another of your requests. We're gonna be drawing Lycanroc. So as you guys can see on screen, this is how he ends up looking like. So if you guys want to learn how to draw him, then let's get started. I'm also gonna put up a reference right now on screen, that way it's easier for you guys to draw, and at the same time you guys can get all your details. Just keep in mind guys that he's not gonna end up looking like the reference 100%, but we do end up getting pretty close. So this time guys, it wasn't my best drawing, but I still think it came out pretty good, so hopefully it's helpful. And yeah, let's get started. So usually I start with like shapes, but this time we're just gonna draw along. So the first thing that we're gonna do is basically start with this like W shape for his like forehead, or the middle of his face. And like always guys, just try to do it as best as you can, that way the tutorial is easier to follow. Once I have that, we're gonna do his snout. Basically like this U shape. And something that I mess up on the actual tutorial or the drawing guys is that he's not even like centered, because he's basically, if you split his face in half, it's the same thing on either side, and on mine it's a little bit lopsided, or however you say it. So if you guys could try to like even it out, it'd turn out a lot better than the way I have it here. Alright, so now that we have that guys, we're going to do the straight line right there, and then it kind of makes this upside down triangle, and this is going to be his nose. And remember to do your line slide guys, because if something doesn't turn out well, then we could always erase it. Alright, so now around here, a little bit lower than the point of the snout, we're just going to do this, curve this out right here for the head. Try to do it the same thing on the other side. Like I said before, just try to do it the same on either side, because the better that you guys make it, the more even, the better it's gonna look. So right here, just looking at it, I know that the right side is a little bit higher than the left. And the reason it's like that guys, because for me it's a lot harder as I'm drawing it. And right here I'm just showing you guys, pointing out that it basically makes this like oval shape. So if it matches up like that, then that means it's turning out well. And like I said before, it's a little bit harder for me just because it's the angle that I'm looking at the drawing, it's really hard to tell if something is even or not. So just the angle that I'm drawing, it's a little bit harder. Right here on the video, you guys are actually seeing it from like the perfect angle, like straight on, and the way I see it sideways, so it's a lot harder for me to notice like anything that's uneven. So hopefully you guys could fix any mistakes that I make, or just basically not do the mistakes that I make. Alright, so now for the eyes, it's just basically these half circles, and I do work on the face a little bit on the right side, because if you guys look at it right now, the right side is a little bit more smaller than the left. So I do work on that, so that's just one of those things that you guys might want to fix. And then the eyes kind of has like another circle, or another line that follows the half circle, and then he just has this oval shape. And right there I erased, and this is where I noticed that it wasn't looking right, so I do try to fix the eye, but then I noticed it was the actual shape of his face. So just because it's uneven right there, I'm having trouble. So that's where I noticed that something was not right. And we could always make changes later on, but just try to make yours a little bit better guys. Mine's the right side a little bit smaller than the left, so that's why I had trouble. Alright, so now for the ears, we're just gonna extend this line. If you guys notice, it doesn't go straight up, it goes a little bit at an angle. And for the ear, it's around there. I think it's a little bit lower, away from the face, around there. And right here I just do this reference line just to like basically give me an idea of where the inside of the ear should be. You guys don't have to do it exactly like that I do it here, because I noticed that the one on the right was gonna be a lot bigger. So this is it's just a triangle shape, and this is the inside of the ear guys, like the pink part. So right now I'm just looking at the reference. I actually have it on my computer in front of me, and then I noticed that the ear was looking was gonna end up a little bit bigger than I would have liked, so I just made it a little bit smaller. And once again, just try to do the same thing on either side, like try to make it the same size. There we go. And now for the rest of the ear, it's just basically a parallel line to the first triangle that we did. And just try to make these the same thickness, like around the triangle. Same thing on this side, just try to make it consistent. One side, whatever you do on one side, try to do it exactly the same on the other side. And there we go. And now we could just connect the top of his head with this curved line. And I think one of those reasons, guys, that it didn't come out as I would have hoped, or what I could have done, was because I did this really late. So that's probably one of those things that I'm gonna not do in the future. Just try to do it within reasonable time and not try to rush it. Alright, so now for one of the sides of his ear, guys, or his the hair sticking out of his face, it's gonna go around there. And if you guys notice, it's a little bit above the eyes, so just keep that in mind. And once again, try to do the same thing on either side and try to make it even. Something that I could have done just to even it out and made it a little bit better, that I usually do and I didn't do in this video, is that I do reference lines. So just to make it even, I do a reference line going across like the whole whatever I'm doing, just to make it even. And this time I don't, and it kind of, like, you can notice that I didn't do it because it's off center. It's not identical one side to the other. So now for the bottom, once again, just try to do the same thing. It's kind of like looking at the eyes, like the angle of the top of that triangle. And now that we have that, we can just do the middle one, which is going to be the biggest one, and it's the one that's going to come out the furthest. So it might take you guys a couple tries just to get the right shape and just the right angles and placement overall. Once again, try to do it the same thing. It's not that bad, guys, but it is kind of off center. It's not identical. The right side of Lycanroc's face is a little bit higher than the left. So this is where I noticed that the face wasn't looking right. So I do extend it a little bit. Like I said before, if something doesn't look right, we could always change it. And it doesn't have to be exactly like our drawing, my drawing, or the reference. If there's something that you guys could change on your drawing just to make it better, then go ahead. In the end, it's your drawing. Alright, so now around here, we're gonna make this other triangle shape. And this is gonna be like the bottom, like his chest, I guess. Or I'm not sure if it's one of those hairs sticking out, like the white going around his neck. I'm not sure if that's one of them. I'm not that familiar with Lycanroc. So this is where I noticed that it wasn't even, so I do work on these a little bit, just trying to make them like the same size, the same distance, the same angle, the same thickness. So it's all about trial and error, guys. That's one of those reasons that I put the reference up there, is just to make it easier and you guys basically know how it's supposed to be or how it actually is. So if I'm not helpful on my drawing or how I'm doing it, or you guys don't know basically what I'm doing, you guys could always have that reference up there just to understand. Alright, so now around here, guys, I do that straight line just to know exactly where the middle is. And then these, I'm guessing, are like these I'm not sure what that is, to be honest, but it seems like it's some type of like rock or bone. And once again, just try to make the same thing on either side, and the same level and the same thickness, the same height and everything. So it's just one of those things to keep consistent. Now that I'm looking at it, the right one's a little bit smaller than the left. I'm not sure if I do change it, because I remember I work on that a little bit, so I'm not sure if I do change that later on. But just try to make it the same as the other side, guys. Alright, so now to work on one of the legs, which I end up making a little bit shorter later on. Goes to around there. And then he has this like little triangle shape that splits the middle of his leg. And right here I'm just pointing out that the leg should basically be the thickness of his like the W that we did first. Just something that I noticed on the reference. If you guys noticed, it's kind of similar in thickness. So I just extend the leg, and like I said before, I end up extending it too long. I wasn't happy with this, so I do make it shorter later on. So I think right here it goes outside of the video. I'm not sure, guys, but I do change that later on. And now the other one comes out around there, and it meets up to around here on this leg. And for the thickness of the leg, once again, try to make it the same thickness as the other one. But the closer it gets to the head, it kind of like gets a little bit thicker, closer to the shoulder. And then around here, I just started doing the paw. But like I said before, I do erase it and I make it a little bit higher. Although now that I'm looking at it, I didn't have to do it, but for some reason when I was drawing it, when I do a little bit more, I was just not happy with it. Alright, so now around here, guys, at the same level as that triangle that we did where it splits the middle of his leg, we're gonna do this line and then just do the outside of this leg that we can barely see on the reference. And then we're just gonna do these like triangle shapes for the top of his claws. So right there sticks out for his paw, and then we're gonna do these triangle shapes. So he has 3 claws, and then we just finish it off by doing the triangle shape at the bottom of that, kind of like a tooth, I guess. And just try to make these the same thickness. These claws are actually gonna be the smallest ones other than the one in the back or in the middle of them, so just keep that in mind. So these are the other claws that I was talking about. These are gonna be a little bit smaller, and you could barely see them stick out on the reference, so I do decide to add them as well. Now for this side, just extending for the paw, and then once again it has these like triangle shapes. And like I said before, these are gonna be a little bit bigger than the ones on the left. And just try to do these at an angle. It might take us a couple of tries just to do the paws. It's just one of those things that's kind of hard to show how to do, so it's all about just looking at the reference and just trying anything. So I'm not looking at it right now, it's really small, so I do change it later on. Like I said before, I do erase it. So now for this one, once again, we do that triangle shape. Now this one's gonna be a little bit higher just because that leg's a little bit behind, so it's gonna be a little bit higher. And then for this paw, once again, I started doing the triangle shapes, but like I said before, I do erase it and I make it a little bit higher. Although, like I said before, now that I'm looking at it, I don't think it was necessary for me to do that. And just for the bottom right here, just do once again the triangle shape, and just try to do these bigger than the other 2 legs or the other 3 legs. Not by much, just a little bit, guys. Just try to keep it a little bit accurate to the reference, since this paw is a little bit more, it's like in front of them. It's gonna be a little bit bigger than the rest. Maybe it is too big, I'm not sure, guys. I want to see how it turns out now. Alright, so now right here, guys, in between the 2 ears, he has this kind of like a curved triangle shape, and it doesn't go that much higher than the actual ears. Now it kind of sticks out on this side, and I forgot to add this other spike. I'm gonna call it a spike. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm just gonna call it a spike. And something that I noticed is that it kind of lines up, so it kind of makes like this X in between all corners. So just try to make it like even, like if you guys do a straight line in the middle of like that going across, it should basically be the same like angle. So that's something that you guys might want to pay attention to. So right here I do the same thing, I don't do this line across the whole thing. I just kind of like guess where it follow the line, and then just do that. And once again, just try to make these the same on either side. So I noticed that the one on the right was a little bit bigger than the one on the left, so I do change it. I make it a little bit smaller, because if you guys look at the reference, each of those 4 spikes is basically the same size. So that's another thing that just try to keep consistent on your drawing. Now on this side, he has another of those white triangle things. I guess this is like hair sticking out of his neck. And then he has another one over here. And I do make this one a little bit smaller. I didn't like it look too big, so I just erase it and just make it a little bit smaller. Like I said before, and if you guys notice right there, it doesn't add up exactly like on the reference. That part on the reference, it connects to like the middle of that spike. So I didn't like how it looked, because on mine it was gonna look too thick. So I decided just to change mine, and that little change just made the drawing a little bit better. So that's like I said before, those changes that you guys might want to do on your drawing just to make it a little bit better. And now we could just add the rest of these white hairs sticking out, I guess you could say. And right here you can barely see a little bit sticking out, but we need to add that for the small details. And we're basically done, guys. The only thing we need to do now is his tail, which is not that hard. So it's gonna start around there, it's gonna curve, and it doesn't go that far away from the body. It gets really close to those spikes right there. And we're just gonna do this reference shape just to get the angle right and just make it flow. Okay. And we can barely see it sticking out right there. And now that we have that, we can just add the little spikes that come out of his tail. I know they're not spikes, guys, but I don't have like words for that, so I'm just gonna call it like that, and hopefully you guys understand what I'm talking about. So you just has 2 of them. Once again, they're basically the same size, so we could just try to keep that consistent. And then since I did the reference shape, or the shape of it, I just erased that line where it connects. So I don't think I could have. I think I could have just left it like that. His legs, that size. But like I said before, I do erase it. I'm not sure if I do it right here on the video or if I do that off camera. Because once I do my sketch, off camera, I look at it, pick it up, and I just make any changes to it. So yeah, I do it on video. So this, like I said before, so once we have our sketch, guys, so if yours looks okay, you guys don't have to erase it. Like I said before, mine, I wasn't happy with this, so that's why I changed it. But if yours looks good and you guys are happy with it, then you guys could just leave it the way that you guys have it. This is just one of those things that on my drawing I wanted to change. And like I said before, or usually on all my videos, once we have our final sketch, then anything we could just go over the drawing, and if there's anything that doesn't look right or that we're not happy with, we could always change, because we have the overall sketch of it. So if something looks off, now's the time that's gonna be really noticeable, and now's the best time to change it. So for example, I wasn't happy with the length of his leg, so I do change it a little bit. Once again, I do the kind of like the triangle shape. So I'm sorry if you guys have trouble with the pause. It's just one of those things that's really hard to explain. I think I like this better. I think I made the right change right here just by making it a little bit shorter. It's not by much. You guys could see that the bottom right there, you could actually see the claws, but I decided just to change it, and I think I made the right move. And once I have my overall sketch, guys, I go over the reference. So for example, I start on the face. I look at the reference, and then I look on my sketch, and if something doesn't look right, then I just change. Then I look at the ears. Something that I forgot on the ears was that like dark gray tip on the ear, something that I add later on that I don't do on the video. So if you guys just want to add that. And then I just go from there. I keep making, looking at the reference and just going section by section and just making any changes or adding anything that I might have forgot, or maybe there's a line that's not supposed to be there, then I erase it. And this is just, that's why I call it a sketch. And then I say at the beginning that you guys are going to do your final drawing, just because we're not finished with the drawing. You know, if you like it this way, then go ahead. And then yeah, make any changes. I also work on the ears or the hair sticking out of the face. Like I said before, I go over it and I make it and I erase it and just fix it a little bit. Also the spikes, those gray spikes, and just make any small changes to make it look a little bit better. And then I did end up coloring them. First, what I ended up doing was I outlined it in pen, a black pen. And then once it was dry, I just went over it with an eraser and just erased all those pencil marks. And the reason I do that is just to make the drawing a little bit cleaner, because once you're doing your sketch and making these lines and stuff like that, it gets a little bit messy. So that's one of those reasons that I like outlining it in pen. But I would only do that if I'm coloring the drawing. If I just want it in pencil, I wouldn't outline it, just because I really like how sketch looks, like the messy part of the sketch. Like I really like how that looks. So it basically shows like your work. You know, it's kind of like in school when you're doing like math or your work or something like that, and your teacher tells you to show your work or how you got your answer and stuff like that. That's how, for some reason, I kind of see sketches. You know, I like sketches messy, like the way it looks. You know, the way that you worked on it and stuff like that, because once you clean it up, it kind of loses that, like, I don't know, that feeling that it has, or that look that it has. But yeah guys, so I did, once I outlined it, like I said before, I erased the pencil and then I waited for it to dry, and then I used my Copics markers to color him. I didn't have the right colors, so I used the closest ones that I had, which was a light brown and then like a darker brown for the shadows. And then I just used a light gray for like the shadows on his tail and then on his legs and stuff like that. And then for his eyes, I just used the closest blue that I had to the reference. And then for the tip of the ears and the spikes coming out, I just used a dark gray, and then just a little lighter one for those like highlights or those lighter spots that are on the tips of the spikes. And the same thing for the nose, and basically that's it. And then also for the ears, I use this like kind of like a dark faded dull pink. So I think that was probably the closest color to the actual reference. But overall, I'm happy with it, guys. It's kind of like a, I don't know, the angle of it kind of looks off. I think it needs to be tilted a little bit more to the right, but it's still okay. You know, it still came out okay. I'm happy with it. Obviously it's not my best drawing, but I think it still looks good. You know, I'm happy with it, like I said before. Another thing that I did was, like I said before, I worked a little bit on the right side of his face, just trying to make it a little bit better. Trying to make that work with each other. So I'm glad I made that change. Another thing that I did was I added these like white highlights. If you guys can see, like on his forehead, on the right side of his face, on one of the legs, I kind of added these small lines. It's something that you guys, if you guys pay close attention to, the reference actually has, and it's just something that kind of like adds a little bit more detail on the drawing. So I decided to add that, and I just used my white gel pen over it. So overall, I think I'm happy, guys. So just let me know in the comment section how yours turned out. Let me know if you guys actually drew him. Don't forget to leave a like, guys. It really helps out my channel. And also leave a comment. Let me know how yours turned out. And if you need any help, then let me know in the comment section. I'd be happy to give any advice. And if there's somebody else, they could also give you any advice. And yeah, so I just want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe for more videos. And I guess I'll just catch you guys on the next one. Team Rocket Draws